Get ready to ace your Azure certification with these quick tips. 10 tricky questions on core Azure services, covering 30 to 35% of the AZ-900 exam. Each question comes with a quick, easy-to-remember explanation. A company needs to deploy a web application with minimal maintenance. They don't want to manage infrastructure but need scaling options. Which service should they choose? Is it A, Azure Virtual Machines, B, Azure Kubernetes Service, C, Azure App Service, or D, Azure Functions? Answer C, Azure App Service. Remember this, VMs or virtual machines equal full control but high maintenance. App Service is a managed platform for web apps, which is best for less maintenance. Kubernetes is container orchestration, and it's too complex for a simple web app. Functions are event-driven and not ideal for full web apps. A company wants to store structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Which storage option should they use? Is it Azure Blob Storage, Azure Table Storage, Azure SQL Database, or Azure Data Lake? The answer is Azure Data Lake. Remember this, blob storage is for unstructured data like images and videos. Table storage is for semi-structured NoSQL data. SQL database is for relational data, which is structured only. And data lake stores structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data together. A company has 2 Azure virtual networks and wants a fast, low-latency private connection between them. Which should they use? Is it ExpressRoute, VPN Gateway, Virtual Network Peering, or Azure Bastion? Answer, Virtual Network Peering. Remember this, peering equals a fast, direct connection between 2 VNets in Azure. VPN Gateway connects on-premises to Azure and is slower than peering. ExpressRoute provides a private connection from on-premises to Azure and is not for VNet to VNet. Bastion offers secure remote access to VMs and is not for VNet connection. Which database should you choose for a globally distributed NoSQL database with low latency? Is it A, Azure SQL Database, B, Azure Cosmos DB, C, Azure Data Lake, or D, Azure MySQL? The answer is B, Azure Cosmos DB. Remember this, Cosmos DB equals NoSQL fast global replication. SQL database equals relational database not for NoSQL. Data lake equals big data storage not a database. MySQL equals relational database like SQL not NoSQL. A company needs to distribute traffic among multiple web applications with URL-based routing. Which service should they use? Is it Azure Load Balancer, Azure Traffic Manager, Azure Application Gateway, or Azure VPN Gateway? Answer, Azure Application Gateway. Remember this, Load Balancer spreads traffic but doesn't inspect URLs. Traffic Manager routes traffic globally, not within Azure. Application Gateway provides Layer 7, URL-based load balancing. VPN Gateway connects networks and it's not for application load balancing. A company needs an event-driven solution to process incoming IoT device data. Which should they choose? Is it Azure Functions, Azure Logic Apps, Azure App Service, or Azure Kubernetes Service? The answer is Azure Functions. Remember this, Functions equals code-based and event-driven, which is good for IoT data processing. Logic Apps is for workflow automation and best for integrations, not IoT. App Service is for full web app hosting, and it's not event-driven. Kubernetes is for container orchestration, but it's too complex for this task. A company wants end-to-end CI/CD automation for deploying apps to Azure. Which service should they use? Is it A, Azure DevOps, B, Azure Repos, C, Azure Artifacts, or D, Azure Boards? The answer is A, Azure DevOps. Remember this, Azure DevOps equals a full CI/CD pipeline. Azure Repos is just source control, not a full CI/CD solution. Azure Artifacts is for package management, not deployment. And Azure Boards is for project tracking, not CI/CD. A team wants to deploy a single containerized application quickly without managing Kubernetes. What's the best choice? A, Azure Kubernetes Service, B, Azure Virtual Machines, C, Azure Container Instances, D, Azure App Service. Answer C, Azure Container Instances. Remember this, AKS equals managing multiple containers, but it's too complex for a single deployment. Virtual machines have too much overhead for a single container. Container instances are best for quick, simple container deployment. App Service can run containers, but is better for full web apps. A company is migrating an on-premises SQL Server database to Azure and needs full control over SQL Server features. What should they use? Is it A, Azure SQL Database, B, Azure SQL Managed Instance, C, Azure Cosmos DB, or D, Azure Table Storage? Answer B, Azure SQL Managed Instance. Remember this, SQL Managed Instance equals full SQL Server features in Azure. SQL Database is the limited pass version, not full SQL Server. Cosmos DB is NoSQL, not for SQL Server. And Table Storage is a NoSQL key value store, not a database. A company needs secure remote access to Azure VMs without exposing RDP or SSH ports to the internet. What should they use? Is it A, just-in-time, JIT, VM access, B, Azure Bastion, C, Azure Firewall, or D, Azure ExpressRoute? Answer B, Azure Bastion. Remember this. Bastion equals secure browser-based VM access with no open ports. JIT access restricts RDP and SSH, but still opens ports when needed. Firewall controls traffic but doesn't provide VM access. ExpressRoute is a private network connection, not for VM access. These are some of the trickiest AZ-900 core Azure Services questions. If you got most of the answers correct, great job. Don't forget to subscribe to Data Visionary Hub for more insightful content. Want more practice? Let me know.